All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, we're live now. Talking here with Zap Oracles. Sorry, talking here with Sean and Tom of Zap Oracles to discuss a really interesting concept. Right, the Oracle problem to this date has not been solved, and like there's a number of reasons for that. And right now we're going to explore what Zap Oracles is doing in the space to create decentralized oracles and the rabbit hole that this creates. Right, there are so many implications from tech like this. So we're going to explore everything. We're going to run along a nice little flow to this discussion, and I'm looking forward to learning as much as I possibly can about Zap Oracles. As everyone, can you confirm that you guys are good, Sean and Tom?
Yeah, good to go here. Good to go.
Okay. All right.
Tom,
So,
yeah,
um,
sorry. I'm just moving some things around real quick.
yep,
But
same.
yeah, really excited to jump into this here. Just setting up my.
Yeah, this is hosted by BLOCKTV, and everyone. I hope you like what the content we provide. A very neutral approach at the space. No one knows everything. We have no idea what blockchain is going to look like in the future, or blockchain tech overall. So, we're bringing a comprehensive understanding to this space as much as we can, and we give everyone in equal voice on the stage. So again, I look forward to this discussion, and I say let's take it away with introducing yourselves and tell us a little bit about your role in the space, Tom or Scott, Sean.
Hi, well, we are like we're just discussing
We go.
offline. Um, uh, it started off in the Oracle space, trying to tackle the Oracle problem, but we've broadened into a curation market platform. Um,
Can you do me a favor and explain the Oracle problem briefly?
uh, yeah, John, you want to take that?
Yeah. Sorry about that. I've got a mix of accounts here. It's John, but yeah. So basically, what's going on here is that smart contracts have a hard time. The Ethereum API, essentially, the Ethereum blockchain can't make a query directly to an API. So you essentially need to stand up a server and then push data into that contract so that it can be read and used. And then you have a conflict of interest, whereas the individuals making these data feeds that are being pushed in are generally the ones that are creating this decentralized platform as well. So they would essentially have control over what the contract is doing, which is an issue. So what you want is a third party without an economic incentive on either end of it, or even necessarily knowledge of being used by this decentralized platform, ends up getting pushed into a data feed. And what you need is an economic incentive for them to create it, because then you have an issue where, well, who's going to pay to stand up the server? Who's going to, maintain this, and why do they have an incentive to keep it running to push data for projects that they aren't necessarily a part of? So
So to
this
bring
is
this to a fundamental level, the problem is in a smart contract in this cryptocurrency space, there's no way to communicate outside of the blockchain to real-time data feeds. And so the question has been, how are we going to allow for data feeds to enter a smart contract in a decentralized manner, taking out the the untrustable human element, right?
Yeah, exactly right. And that's why curation markets are such a good use case for this. So what a curation market is essentially a decentralized platform. So where it all stems from is that markets are a very efficient tool for deciding best practices across a ton of different things. So the issue with using markets in their conventional sense, where we think about tokenizing anything and then letting a free market trade that to decide whether or not it's valuable, is
Mm-hmm.
the inefficiencies needing things like an exchange to list this token, or market makers and liquidity to have order books to facilitate the trading back and forth. So what the Zap platform essentially is a curation market of tokenized bonding curves. And what a tokenized bonding curve is essentially a smart contract that is able to issue secondary tokens based on a price curve function, with the x-axis being how many secondary tokens have been generated and the y-axis being how expensive those tokens are. So now you have the ability for people to stake value to this bonding curve. And as people stake value, it's able to move along this price curve. So people are essentially able to have the same benefits of a free market without needing all of the back end and logistics and liquidity to facilitate the trading that's going on there.
Yeah, so let's bring this back to Earth for a second, because I know a lot of people are so confused by this, the Oracle problem and overall like what the need for such a thing is. So let's put it like this. Say there's a bet between two parties, and me and you want to engage in a contract where we need an arbiter, right? In order for there to be some sort of decision made, an arbiter needs to enter this contract between us. And let's say it's a bet, right? You're going to bet that the A team wins, and I'm going to bet that the B team wins. And we need access to real world data from that smart contract to say A team won or B team won. And so moving along from that very general understanding, the smart contract would be the contract and I are engaged in. The arbiter would be some third party entity, which historically has been humans or a judge or something like that. And in this space, we're calling them oracles, right?
Yeah, exactly right.
And so let's see. So what's stopping people from understanding Zap off the bat? I believe that that's a very nice basic understanding of what a smart contract is. And now we're going to move into the role that Zap is fulfilling in this space in terms of creating the access to external data feeds to say team A1 or team B1. And now the smart contract is going to execute putting money, say B team won, and I was the one that we both put one token in on this bet. I would now be, as a result of the Oracle receiving real world data saying team B1 from a trusted source, that I would then be allocated all the tokens in that smart contract.
Yeah, exactly right. And the really exciting part is that this platform is also able to do exactly the functions that you're talking about. So in addition to providing the oracles, which is a great use case for the curation market so that the free markets can decide on which oracles are the most trustworthy and which have the most value, you can also use these bonding curves for exactly the situation you just described. So you would essentially make one bonding curve for team, let's just sports is the easy one to describe, like we just talked about. Let's say team A wins or team B wins, you would have a bonding curve for each of them. And the reason this is so important is because it allows the people who make earlier bets to be rewarded for betting earlier, where a big problem that you have in these speculative markets is people want to jump in and out right towards the end of it as they can see sort of how it's getting closer to things being settled, especially when it's a binary decision. There's no penalty or benefit to getting in early, essentially. So with a bonding curve and a floating price point for these same sort of financial mechanisms, you now are able to generate secondary tokens, which are positions in whether or not team A or team B wins. And then you would have another bonding curve, which is the Oracle, which is being curated by the market as well, determining which two of these bonding curves win. And at the end of the situation, let's say team A wins, the token holders from team B, that staked value would be split out evenly across the token holders of team A that had just won from them, essentially. So the same platform that is used to curate oracles is also able to facilitate and curate the same kinds of end market financial transactions that you're talking about.
Yeah, that's like, taking it even a step further, which is like, 10 times cooler in my opinion. I would say, so one thing you brought up is access to this data, right? A question, someone could say, well, what if a centralized entity controls access to the data? Well, what you're saying is data is competitive, and the market is going to decide which data is more valuable than others. Therefore, it is in the incentive of the data provider to provide the most accurate real-time data they possibly can. Correct?
Exactly right. And even in the case of having that one central data source for one of these bonding curves, someone could very easily bundle 5 or 6 bonding curves that provide a similar type of data and do all that on chain and then process those together. So you have, and that oracle would be more valuable than these others by themselves. So you could bundle these data feeds and bond across them and aggregate these into a single data feed. So that would be even more trustworthy. So you wouldn't need to rely on just one of these bonding curves to speculate. The strongest oracles are going to be the ones that are built from a few different bonding curve data feeds that the curation market has already deemed as a good one, essentially.
Wow, and so you're, this is brand new. As far as I'm aware, you guys haven't really stepped out of the woodworks just yet. This is kind of, breaking edge technology. Am I correct in saying such?
Yeah, absolutely. Bonding curve curation markets are a really, really exciting space, and we're just sort of beginning to discover all that you can do with essentially having all the functions of a tokenized market without needing the liquidity and exchange listings and everything else to get things moving. So it's just it's like an economic lever almost to accomplish a lot of the things that we want to do with conventional tokens, but needing order books and liquidity and market makers and things like that has been slowing everything down.
Yeah, so you have a token, and tell us a little bit about this token. Take the floor.
Yeah, sure. What it is what's used for staking value in the curation market.
Well,
So,
is this a traded? Is there a ticker or anything like that?
yeah, it's Zap. It's
ZAP.
yeah, ZAP is the ticker for it, and it's an ERC20, and it's worked into all of the contracts of the platform so that this is used as a staking mechanism to actually do things on the curation market, on the bonding curve market.
Awesome. Now I see a comment over here. All right. Please explain how Zap is being platform agnostic.
Yeah, sure. So that just has to do with the endpoints that are being provided by the Oracle creator. So we have a few templates right now for people to sort of just copy paste a base of Node.js. We've got the Node.js packages up, and they would essentially, whatever that endpoint needs to point to, they could push that to another chain, and that would be on the developer of these oracles. The template that we put out so far is simply for the Ethereum blockchain, but we're releasing more templates as we speak. So
Awesome.
we're not trying to be the Oracle creators. The reason we built these templates is so that developers can see how easy it is to build and list these things on the platform.
So, and you're talking specifically to building the access to data feeds.
Exactly. In addition to all those other things I talked about, we've just now sort of put the finishing touches on being able to generate an ERC20 bonding curve so you can add business logic to the dots that your bonding curve is using. So doing those things that we talked about where either team A wins or team B wins from each of those bonding curves, you would need that ERC20 dot to add the business logic to pay out one curve or the other in the event that one wins. So
Okay.
it's all going to be us releasing templates so that people can build more exciting things with these bonding curves.
Yeah, I mean, and that's a great idea because it's like, you let something out into the world and, you'll never guess how amazing it becomes. So I'm very curious to see how this develops. To bring us back to a previous point you made, just so that everyone can understand a really awesome concept of your curve that you're talking about. So, if the beginning of the game, the Chicago Bulls are playing the Jazz, and you make a bet that the Bulls are going to win. Well, since you made that bet at the beginning of the game when there was no data, or right, you have more to lose essentially. If you make the bet in the fourth quarter, the last 30 seconds of the fourth quarter, you have much more to gain. Well, you're much more likely to have been right at that point in time versus at the beginning of the game. So you're talking about a curve where if you make the bet at the beginning of the game, your payout is greater than the person that made the bet at the last 30 seconds of the game. And this is such an interesting concept. How did you come up with something like this?
It was actually we've got to give a lot of credit because I don't want to butcher his last name. Tom might pronounce better. Simon de la Rouvier put out a few years ago some research on tokenized bonding curation markets. And this essentially is what spawned sort of the whole economic incentive structure of this thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we really built upon his research from that. So
yeah, it seems like some amazing math.
It really is. And it's an exciting economic lever to sort of accelerate all of the benefits that we want from a free market deciding things, essentially.
So you said this is an ERC20 token, which means this is on the Ethereum mainnet, and is just out of curiosity, does that do you ever worry about Ethereum? Do you ever worry about synchronizing a node that like the current issue with like syncing? Like, is that
I do recall the CryptoKitty apocalypse. If you're talking about scaling issues within the Ethereum network, it seems like they've been working a lot of that out. But as far as right now, Ethereum is what everything's being built on. That's really the standard for development right now in the blockchain space. So while sure, scaling could, if the Ethereum blockchain freezes up and there's issues, that absolutely would be devastating for, not only us, but a million other projects. But for right now, I think they've sort of got a pretty good handle on it, assuming there's not another kitty apocalypse here in the immediate future.
Yeah, I mean, it's such amazing tech, and again, like the rabbit hole goes deep, very, very deep with the concept of decentralized data feeds competing to provide the best data to solve the contract, right? To be the arbiter, a decentralized arbiter of a smart contract. I like the more I think about it, like the more obscure my thoughts get. You know what I'm saying? It's like this rabbit hole just goes so deep. So do you want to talk about any speculation or anything that you're really excited about in this particular space?
Absolutely. Tom, if you want to pull up the web admin, if you're able to screen share on there, I know it's going to show me, but if we can get Tom, if you sort of want to just talk through the speculative portion of the web admin, kind of explain, because this is all, it's not just the token that's on mainnet, it's actually the speculative bonding curve curation market is also fully live on mainnet. So you're now able to generate curves, secondary tokens, link them to data feeds, and we're just now building out the second portion of that, which is the ERC20 backed dots, essentially, which are the secondary token. So you're able to do those more exciting financial instruments. Things like, another good example is, say, like a bounty situation where you have a product development bounty, you would stake that value into a bonding curve that is easily visible, and then competitors would each have their own bonding curve. And a few things happens here. The community would then vote by staking value to the bonding curve of a certain project to decide whether or not that was the best one. And they would be the winner of the bounty sum, while the speculators would win the value from the losing projects based on their speculations. They have an economic incentive to vote on the right project, essentially. So you could then speculate on who's going to be the winner, while at the same time creating a thermometer for which is in fact the best project.
So that would open the door. Am I correct in saying, to something like Oracle offering type scenarios? Am I bridging the gap too prematurely, or is that
no? So the Oracle offering scenarios are actually the first part, and that's when you create a data feed. How are you going to convince everyone to stake value to it? How are you going to tell people that this is the right data feed to bond to? I'm thinking we're going to get very quickly, as we're releasing oracles here, and other people are as well, where you're going to essentially need information about the data feed that you've created and why it is a trustworthy source and how you've put it together. So the templates are just a starting point. But as people begin to bundle different data feeds together from these oracles that are already created, I think you're going to be seeing things like launch pages for oracles, maybe even ticker countdowns of when the oracle is going to go live, and people are actually able to begin bonding on it to generate excitement around the release of a bonding curve and get the community involved as it's coming online.
So I'm almost hearing that oracles are going to be something similar, if you're familiar with, just to throw an analogy out there, something similar to the Lightning Network channels, right? Where you can have multiple. Oh, are we hearing from Tom?
Oh, can you? Oh, my microphone's on.
Oh, yep. Are you ready to go? Because I can.
By the way, no, keep going. But I just wanted to verify that. Is my screen showing?
Yep.
Yeah, it is showing as you talk.
So just before you continue, I'm just going to go through and create a bonding curve fronting a service real quick on our web admin here, and go through the motions.
Yeah, and if you actually just want to show first the browse bonding curves up there, so you can browse curation market at the top.
Right.
And then if we look, we can see some of these endpoints here, and that's awesome. It's showing his screen while I'm talking, which I didn't know we'd be able to do that. Are you seeing his screen on front as well?
So they're only going to see whoever is talking. Now, if Tom, you want to make it, I believe that on the top of your screen, it should say present to everyone, and that should give you access to control the image while someone is explaining what's going on in the image.
Oh, I see.
All right, so now, okay, hold on. So now I'm seeing myself again, but because I'm talking, but I'm sure we can navigate our way through this.
Absolutely. So let me see if I can pull it up here.
So I'm showing the screen now, and you guys can see it, correct? But
Yeah, absolutely.
Correct.
to see it.
Yeah, it's switching back and forth. Let me just create a MetaMask.
You know, I'm gonna see. I can control. All right, so now you are presenting to everyone.
Oh, excellent. Okay, great. So we're here on just our web admin super early.
And that just says Kovan there if you're logging in via a seed, and you can switch that. Right now it's using MetaMask, and this is all on mainnet Ethereum chain right now.
Right.
So just 1 second. So I'm seeing some participants saying that this is good. Everyone can see the screen. We're all in agreement that this is going to be a nice way to run through the explanation. Crypto
Excellent.
and SD. I hope you guys say something. I'll be looking for your comment. But yeah, we're up and running here. Your screen is shared, and take the stage.
Okay.
Yeah. So, if you look right here, this is simply a web portal to interact directly with the contracts, which is why you need MetaMask. So this is simply one web portal to interface with the contract. There's also a command line terminal if you're doing more development stuff. There's a few ways to interact with the contract platform that's fully just on Ethereum mainnet, but this is essentially the most user-friendly, easy way. So if we go back to the web admin there, and we browse curation market, if you want to hide that embed, that's just the widget so that you can take one of these bonding curves and then put it on your own website. So say you were doing a fundraising or even just your own ICO, you could create one of these bonding curves, point and click, and then you would be able to have that bonding curve directly on your own web page and, clean it up however you want to, have the sort of however you'd like it to look, and people would be able to bond directly through MetaMask on your own website to this bonding curve and interface with the smart contract platform. So what he's showing right now is the bonding curve. Is this Poloniex API that we're looking at?
This is.
Yeah, if you just scroll up to the top there, we can see right now that the dots issued for this, there's been 7,000 dots issued, and this bonding curve actually started out at around 7 Zap per dot. And after the first night of bonding on this thing, and this is a pretty steep curve that we said, we didn't know it would be a steep curve because the free market is the one that's deciding, what's good, what's not. The value of a dot went from around 7 Zap per dot up to 112 Zap per dot in the first few hours. So I personally did some bonding and unbonding on this and was able to generate a profit just based on speculating on some of the first data feeds that went live on this market. So this is essentially an entirely new speculative market where people are able to, based on the bonding curves and being able to move in and out without needing any liquidity or market makers or anything like that, you can now speculate on tokenized assets for anything. Right now, the first case being oracles, because the oracles have to come first. We can't do any of these other exciting financial instruments until we have the data feeds coming in. So now that we have oracles stood up, there can be many other things done with these data feeds using the bonding curves to pay each other out with those ERC20 dots.
Awesome. I mean, I'm looking at this, and this is
Right.
all new to me, so I'm digesting. But this is amazing. Is there anything you wanted to run us through while we're still in screen share here?
Yeah, let's just create a bonding curve real quick. I noticed my MetaMask is acting a little bit slow here. I've had about 500 tabs open before this call. So I'll probably give this a reboot later. But let's just create a new Oracle for service. Just call that, a lot of features. I want to say, all right, for the first 10,000 dots, which are the secondary tokens, which will be emitted from this curve. So
the dots are the secondary tokens.
That's right.
Exactly.
And so we'll say for the first 10,000, we'll have x squared be the function of price to dot supply. So let's say for the next 10,000, let's make it fixed. So it'll have an exponential price increase for the first 10,000, and then say for the second 10,000, we'll just make that fixed. So once 10,000 dots have been supplied, there'll be a fixed price. Now, if someone were to unbond, significantly back into the first piecewise segment, you'd get back into the exponential realm. And we can, we have a lot of documentation and some some great explanations of exactly how this works and the piecewise functions and how
Awesome.
you can set this up over at zap.tech. But
So question, real quick. If
Yep.
someone had no idea about any of this stuff and they go into this, is this something, I mean, on the screen before, it looked like there was some educational content.
That's right.
How much experience does someone need to be setting something? And I see your endpoint name, Lotto Futures. I mean, how much experience would someone need in order to participate in something like this?
So to begin speculating, there is almost no learning curve. It's really just point and click using MetaMask and the bond and unbond keys, which are buttons from these bonding curves. So it's very easy for someone to step on and be a part of the speculative market. If you want to stand up your own bonding curve that's actually doing something, you could issue an ERC20 bonding curve and do some simple fundraising. But if you wanted to build the kind of exciting things we're talking about, where one curve is paying out another one based on, you know, some sort of logic that's happening in the data feed that's coming in, you're going to need a little bit of, you're going to need to go through the docs and be able to do a little bit of solidity. There'll still be templates for you, and the vast majority is going to be copy paste, but it's going to be a little more than it is to just bond and unbond, which anyone can just pick up. We almost did no explaining, and people were able to sort of just intuitively figure out how to bond and unbond, asking a few questions in our Telegram and get them started.
Right.
Awesome.
And if you want documentation, we have it right over at zap.tech or tech.zap.org, both direct to the same site, where we keep expanding the tutorial section, linked to our GitHub, Ethereum docs, our Node.js docs, and we love any feedback on this and what people want to sort of break down most. Right on the template, right on the web admin, we have a link to some boilerplate codes for templates. So if you want like a temporal subscription service, so basically the costs are block by block, we have a template for that. If you want a query-based service like traditional Oracle, where one query costs one dot or secondary token, we have a template for that as well.
Understood.
But yeah, just getting through this, creating a curve real quick. Now we have a 2-segment curve here. You can link some metadata. So if you want to provide some documentation in Markdown and provide a link to that, I just have some dummy links here. Now you can go ahead and create the curve. Our tools by default will look for Markdown docs and JSON schema as metadata. If you want that rendered, you can see that in if you go into one of these oracles or services and browse, you see the Markdown rendered, as well as the embed code if you wanted to put this bond curve widget on your site.
So I'm hearing, a good thing that this doesn't require necessarily a mastermind. There is copy paste and there is some instruction to create your own curve. And just curious. So you're kind of starting one, right? Lotto Futures. Are you like, are we having fun here? You're talking about, say, someone's betting on what the next jackpot's going to be, or which state the next winner is going to be in, or can we kind of play along a narrative here for the viewers?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really just you need a data feed coming in to settle that at the end, but you could make a speculative market for anything, essentially. And that could be either determined by a piece of outside data coming in, or, oh, there we go. Yeah, it could be either a piece of outside data coming in, or that could be based on the bonding that's already happened. So if the community is going to decide something out of, like, what is the best project for this, essentially, some hypothetical thing, the end result could be decided by who has the most value staked at the end of it, and then they would take the value staked and split that amongst themselves from the other losing projects, essentially. So you could curate anything that you wanted to and have a speculative market on it, where you're going to have one winner and the rest are losers as they pay out that winning bonding curve.
Mm-hmm. So I just want to make sure that everything's working here so that we can switch seamlessly between. All right, here we go. So everyone can see me. Now, can you say something again, please?
Yeah, sure. Is it
Okay, cool.
switching?
Yeah, so we're back to switching around.
Awesome.
I just want to make sure that when you're speaking, you know, we don't have to have the share screen up if not needed, so that you know people could see the interaction here. Let me
Yeah.
ask you a question. You're talking about tokens and secondary tokens. So in order to participate, I would need to buy ticker symbol ZAP. In order to put money into a smart contract, I require ticker symbol ZAP, right?
Correct. And then
And
that's the value you would stake to these bonding curves to speculate on the secondary market.
now, how do you account for volatility in between the time that a smart contract is made and the time that a smart contract is executed? Say we're dealing with something, you know, say Zap has a volatility of, you know, I guess most cryptocurrencies, and you know the value's going up and down. I guess, are you saying one Zap is equal to one Zap, or you know, like people need to understand that you know, this is that you're playing with some double volatility here because you're not necessarily staking like a stable coin, you know, a
Yeah,
dollar pegged cryptocurrency, or you know, any thoughts on that?
you're exactly right. And that is a fantastic question that has been discussed specifically in and out. And I hadn't brought this up to the rest of the crew. Someone else suggested this to me, that hypothetically you might be able to use an oracle that is already listed there. And this would essentially be a master oracle across the platform. I
Hey,
mean, not
John, your
even,
camera isn't popping up. Sorry.
oh, is it not? Okay.
There we go. There we go.
Okay. But you could essentially have a oracle for the, if you wanted to lock it to US dollars, you could have an oracle for USD. Hypothetically, we haven't thrown this around. I think I'm freezing and then coming
Yeah,
back. That's what is
yeah.
going on. I might try and jump in and then jump back out and see if that fixes it. But that is definitely something that's been discussed, is the double volatility and how that could be an issue within a speculative market. So it wouldn't matter necessarily for the data feeds, as the people, when they originally stake their value, they still have their calls to the data feed, which is one dot is one call for the data.
Hmm.
But in the speculative thing, it's definitely adding acceleration on both sides of that equation for sure.
So so we have a singular token that is used to enter the contract. Now, explain to me a little bit more about the secondary token. What is the secondary token's role in, you know, like it seems like there's, you know, this is obviously a complicated subject, right? So let's try to like bring this into more of a friendly, understandable playground. We have token one that we use to enter the contract, and you know there are some volatile, debatable topics there. Now, what's the secondary token, its function and its role?
Sure. So the secondary token is essentially generated by, oh, okay, there we go. Secondary token is generated by staking value to the, I'm going to try jumping in and jumping out real quick. Tom, you want to take this one?
Yeah, sure, sure. So,
Okay.
could you repeat the question?
The
So we're
secondary
talking,
token. Yeah,
yeah,
sorry.
talking about the, you know, primary token being ZAP, in order to enter a smart contract, and then now we have a secondary token. So yeah, I just wanted to explain, wanted you to explain more about the function of the secondary token, how this all plays together, and you know, just kind of bridge the gap.
Right, right, of course. So the secondary token, to what was discussed earlier, can be speculated on if you bonded to an endpoint service or an oracle that you think is promising. You can hold on to that secondary token, redeem it later, potentially profit from the increase in token price, or you can use it to redeem some sort of service that's been published by the provider himself. He or she, and like I said, we have some templates for boilerplate code if you want to throw up a daemon on your server that will respond to queries or initiate a socket subscription over time. The secondary token would be the unit of exchange for that. So effectively, you want to make one query to this service. One token is held in escrow until the query is completed, upon which time the secondary token or DOT is released from escrow, given to the provider. Now the provider has the opportunity to unbond and potentially profit from that token, or hold on to it and basically maintain the existing capitalization of his or her curve. And the same goes with our temporal subscription model, where we're talking about one secondary token per block time of a subscription. So if you want a streaming subscription, for instance, we have a provider up here, Market Signal, with 2 endpoints for trading. So in this case, we're not talking about oracles, we're talking about a data feed. So you have a bot, you want to listen to some of the signals coming from this black box algo. You can subscribe to this, consume the subscription one block at a time. Effectively, this is a state channel. There's no on-chain interactions during the subscription, but if either party terminates, the remaining escrow is going to be basically returned to the subscriber, and the used escrow to the provider. So, so we have a variety of, and these are just the templates that we've provided, right? You can go and build whatever you want on here, whatever you can think of.
Now, so bringing up the concept of the, let me see here. This is still showing. Let me see. Are the viewers seeing your screen? You see me? I know that we're having a little bit of stuff going on here. Now, all right. I mean, we're talking about a token, ERC20. Now, in order to provide this service live, I'm assuming you had to pre-mine. Is that a safe assumption?
So if you're looking for a rolling subscription, you're saying?
No, like, so, there's ZAP, like, what's the market cap of ZAP? Did you pre-mine? How,
Oh, sure. So we've got all that info up on our white paper, but it's something like 47% is locked, or hasn't moved in the long-term budget, essentially. And then there was, I think the pie chart is 10% team, 10% for bounties, and then 33% the token sale is what's gone out so far.
So that's all in the white paper. Let me, and I'm still, are you only seeing the Thomas's page?
No, I'm seeing myself right now on the main one.
Oh, weird.
So
I guess maybe I'm going through some weird stuff now.
No worries.
I'm just gonna hold it here for about 10 more seconds because I switched it to me presenting, but I don't see my face on the screen. I only see the share screen. And
I'm seeing you come through, just so you're aware.
Huh. Interesting. Well, there might be some little bit of technical difficulty because I'm also watching the channel and I'm only seeing Matt's screen on the channel as well. So we'll have to figure out.
I can stop the screen share.
Okay, yeah. Can you try that real quick? And let's see here. Oh, I just went black. Yeah. Can you try that real quick? And can you guys hear me? Oh, I just went black.
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna have to try to do this. You guys hear me? Manually. Of course, every time you go live, there's gonna be some sort of issue. All right. Well, let's try this up. Hopefully, and you can see me right now, John.
Yeah, I gotcha.
And yeah, Google is only showing black screen. Or
yeah, I see that. I just pulled up the channel also.
Yeah, something weird is going on here.
Maybe I'll sign out and sign back in, and maybe that'll fix it.
Yeah.
Let's give that a try. All right. Well, it looks like we're back here. I mean, I'm seeing my face now, and there's about a couple seconds delay to the and there we are. All right. So everything's up, and here we are back with the proper format. So, all right. So I mean, we've hit a lot of good stuff here. Let's keep the ball rolling.
Yeah.
So so what about like conflicting data situations? Say there are competitors for data. How trustworthy is the data source, and how do you make a trustworthy data source? Well, say we're talking about the weather or something, right? There's 20 different weather sources, right? So what's a trusted like, and say we're our bet in our smart, to make it simple, we're betting on it's going to be sunny or rainy tomorrow, or either a beautiful sunny day or
Right.
a cloudy day, right? Now, what are we looking at with data feeds? What kind of competition? Like, what if two data feeds disagree? And I'm saying, are we going to have to agree to one data feed? And what if it's inaccurate? Let's talk about some of that speculation.
Sure. So in this sort of scenario, I would say, and again, this is why the curation market's so powerful, is because there is no best practice. There's no just one way of doing it. Essentially, I see I'm frozen again here.
Yeah, you went black. I see you now, and then I see myself. So I mean,
All right.
so
As long as you can hear me, that's it.
yeah, I see you now. All right, cool.
All
So
right, great. So there is no best practice, and that's the most important thing, is that the curation market is going to be deciding on which the best data feed is. And if you were setting up something like this, excuse me, you would want to, if you wanted to have a trustworthy, hypothetically, platform for determining, for basically betting on whether or not it's rain or sunshine, you would want to tell them which oracle you were using for that data feed before they were placing their bet. So you were able to research, hey, how is this getting its data? And then you'd be able to determine if that was an oracle that you'd want to put faith in prior to making this bet on rain or sunshine, essentially.
hmm okay, so basically the oracle is decided before like as the contract is being created.
Exactly right. And I think what we're going to see very soon is the most trustworthy oracles are made up of multiple bonding curve data feeds bundled together and then aggregated across to
Yeah.
push out outliers and other things like that. But
So
that's
that
really,
would that sounds great. You would be taking in data feeds from 30 different sources essentially and saying, "Yep, there is an overwhelming agreement on this decision." The external data feed is saying that there is an overwhelming agreement that it is beautiful and sunny outside, therefore beautiful and sunny takes the pot.
exactly.
Awesome. So,
Exactly. And that really has far-reaching implications because right now all of the data feeds that people are really wanting that we're seeing from other platforms asking for data feeds for smart contracts that are actually built all generally have to do with crypto prices or fiat to crypto prices because there's just not a lot of infrastructure built for doing anything else with other than these data feeds other than creating more exciting financial instruments essentially with the formats that we already have. So, in the context of crypto price feeds, if you know the price of an asset, and not even just crypto price feeds, of any asset, you can take essentially a future position based on going long or short with two bonding curves and facilitate that as long as you know the price of the asset. Yeah, I see them frozen every time I start talking. It shows me frozen in the corner, and
yeah.
then once I stop and it goes back tiny, it's like it's good to go, and I see myself moving again. So I'm not sure if that's just me pushing the stream to you as that's happening or what's going on there.
Just please let Tom know I sent Stefan another link just to try that out.
Oh, yeah, I'll kick
I
that
just
over.
yeah, I pushed him out because I think it was his feed that was causing the issue, and
Gotcha.
I sent a new link. So yeah, I mean right now it's working perfectly, but I see when he's in the chat, it's causing some sort of issue. So
Ah, okay. So
please
I'm
just
coming through good, not frozen now
well
as I'm
this
talking.
the second you said that something happened. Now please try again.
Okay, test 1 2.
You're oh yeah, I mean I see, yeah, I saw that.
Okay,
So let me ask you a question. Let's give it like a 1 minute answer because I think that's that we're working. Um, so we talked about conflicting data, but obviously you're saying that the best solution to that is an aggregation of data, and that's an amazing concept. So tell us about how you bring external data feeds into something that communicates with the blockchain. Like that's crazy. That's awesome.
Yeah, at its core, it's really just standing up a server. And right now, the ones that are just doing a single API pull are just checking the TLS certificate of the website, making sure that that's actually coming from where it says it is, and pushing that directly on chain through Web3. So that isn't necessarily the complicated part. It becomes more complicated when you're selecting a few of these. So you would bond to a few different data feeds and then bundle those into your own Oracle. You would then list at hypothetically a higher price as it's a more valuable data feed and you're aggregating a few of these. So we're going to be releasing a multi-party template here pretty soon. And that will be sort of a guideline for a way that people are able to bundle a few of these data feeds together.
So when did you go live?
I want to say it was late January. It was live on mainnet. The contracts were January 1st, I believe. Maybe it was ended. I think it was January 1st. But I'm sending Tom the new link here. But
Okay, cool.
we didn't really set it up and sort of tell people about it until pretty recently. I think it was early February, maybe the middle of February, when we really let people start playing with the web admin, which is definitely by and far the easiest way to. Tom's coming back in. I see myself frozen here again. Wonder
Hmm.
if that's his fault. But it's really, I think it was like recent February when we actually pushed out the web admin portal for people to interact with these contracts through MetaMask in a much easier way.
Okay, and so what is MetaMask?
MetaMask is just an easy way to interact with Ethereum smart contracts. So it is just super user friendly. It's a Chrome extension plugin. So you can go to a website, and from there, if the website is connected to MetaMask, you can interact directly with smart contracts through your browser all at one place, which is why the widget is so exciting that we have so that you can export one of these bonding curves to your own website. So, say I was doing a fundraising campaign or setting up an ICO or something similar, I would be able to generate this secondary token and then essentially have that entire market, this market that doesn't need liquidity or order books or exchanges, directly on the homepage of the website and a floating price point with its own algorithmic market wherever I want to list it. And that widget is able to interact directly with MetaMask. So it's just click and point going in and out of the speculative market, essentially, and generating those secondary tokens.
Okay. Just so everyone's aware, I switched it to my pretty face, so you guys will have to deal with that while we're sorting out these issues. So that's awesome, a Chrome extension plugin, and that sounds like it makes things really easy for the user, which is obviously what we need in this space, right? I mean, I still can't get my grandma to understand digital gold, you know?
Yeah, yeah, we're not promising to get her to understand that. That's its own mountain of a task for sure. I have had similar conversations, absolutely. But I
Hmm.
think these are just big steps forward for people that sort of already understand the eco. It's going to be very hard to bring someone who doesn't understand crypto and get them to have an inkling of the possibilities of tokenized bonding curve curation markets. But for the people already in the space that know the challenges of being on exchange, having liquidity, order books being ready to go, this is a tool that is essentially an accelerant for this whole situation.
Yeah, I mean, I know like one of the greatest criticisms has always been like the trusted third party required in a smart contract, right? Like, I mean, that's always been the conversation, and therefore one of the greatest weaknesses to the whole concept, the idea, right? So I'm really excited to see the future of how data is being extracted, um, how data is being used, you know, add data feeds into the blockchain so that people can, you know, so that people can smart contract. I don't really know
Yeah.
what better way to put it. You know, it's just like it's crazy. I just, you know, this our interview basically we started lining this up last week, and since then I've been thinking about it. And again, this rabbit hole just keeps getting deeper and deeper and deeper. So it's an enjoyable space. It's definitely exciting. And yeah, tell me a little bit about your excitement for this project, and the future, and anything that comes to mind.
Sure. So I think what's going to be essentially one of the most exciting things to happen with this decentralized speculation market is these token backed bonding curves where you can add business logic to these bonding curves. So you could even have, and especially with the widget, you could essentially easily build a third-party website. And let's just say it's a sports betting website. It's an easy thing to talk about. So it's an easy explanation that people can
Yep.
understand.
Let's keep it
So
on
you
Earth.
can have, yeah, absolutely. Let's just call it, which at the beginning of the football season, you're deciding which team's going to win the Super Bowl. And you've got however many teams are up there. I know some states now have two or whatever, but however many teams are up there, you would have a bonding curve for each one and be able to speculate with the earlier positions being less expensive than the later positions because you're moving along that price function as you're generating those secondary tokens. And this can all be done on a third-party website with just a list of the widgets. So you can just export those bonding curves from our platform into your own website with a few lines of HTML with the widget export. And so you've got the bonding curves on your own website, which is just for sports betting. You've rebranded it. And people can use MetaMask right there and jump in and out of these positions where each bonding curve is one of the teams. And at the end of the season, all of the tokens from all of the other bonding curves pay out their staked value as a dividend essentially to the holders of the secondary token of the winning bonding curve, the winning team. So this can go for anything. This could go for short and long positions on crypto assets. It could go for short and long futures positions on conventional assets or blue chip stocks, as long as you know you have the data feed coming in, which is why oracles were the first use case for this, because you need the outside data coming in to settle what's happening here. But the curation market can be used. The oracles and the data feeds are essentially the first piece that's needed, and a very good use case for curation markets to allow a more accelerated free market to decide on best practices. But what's really happening is these are all going to feed to all these very powerful financial instruments that you can now build as a third party and copy paste things into your own website to do futures, sports betting, predictions, all sorts of things, just based on having bonding curves with a little bit of business logic backing the token.
Yeah, that does bring an interesting concept, betting futures for an asset without the asset, right? Where like on something like BitMEX, you're staking your Bitcoin, right? If you're going long or short on a position, you're staking your Bitcoin. So it's going to be interesting to see that play out. Are you, does a part of you feel like, oh, buy some Zap now and you'll have more purchasing power in the future? Say that you want to you say you're a betting man and you want to, be making these engaging in smart contracts. Well, obviously, smart contracts, and I want to point this out. This isn't specific to gambling, right?
Yeah,
We're
definitely.
kind of using that concept so that again
Easy
with
analogy for sure.
yeah. Why don't you bring up a couple of other use cases that we can that everyone can understand that aren't just
Sure.
gambling, so people can
Yeah,
understand.
absolutely. So another one would be a bounty program where you have a problem that you want to be solved,
Hmm.
and you would stand up essentially a bonding curve, stake value to it. That's the prize money for the bounty. And you
So
could
we're
either have,
talking John Wick right now.
yeah, no, bounty is in a development bounty. Development bounty. I don't even want to go there. This is a decentralized platform. The a development bounty could be set up as you got the staked value. This is sitting up in the top as the prize money, and you could determine the prize winner one of two ways. It could either be decided by whoever has set the bounty. They have a key to push that contract one way or the other. They're going to pick the winner at the end. Or it could be decided by the community who wins that bounty. Let's say you have 4 participants. Each one of the participants are going to have their own bonding curve, and the community will be able to speculate on who's going to be the winners by staking value to that bonding curve. And at the end of the situation, it could either be decided by who has the most value staked. The community has decided they win this bounty competition, or by the creator of the bounty. They can pick with their key, interacting with the smart contract, and pick that themselves. And the speculators would be rewarded and have an economic incentive to choose the best project, because the losing bonding curves would have their staked value paid out to the token holders of the winning bonding curve. So you have both a thermometer for where the community thinks this is happening, or a
Mhm.
deciding factor, and letting the community curate who's winning this thing entirely.
Yeah, that's crazy. So you're talking, I think there's a lot of there's a little bit of outer space in there. So you're saying, someone has a problem that they need solved, therefore they create a bounty essentially, right?
Exactly.
And so it's not like Fiverr, if anyone's familiar with Fiverr. It's not like saying, I need someone to create business cards for me, so I'm going to use you. This is more like saying, I have a problem that I can't solve on my own, so I'm going to create a bounty for someone to solve this problem, and then the community as well as the individual will vote on who best solved the problem and wins the bounty.
Exactly. And the community voting actually wins money if they have selected the best project
So,
and they have pulled from those other projects. So they actually have an economic incentive to vote in the best direction.
and this is using Zap. You're staking Zap on that bet.
Exactly. All
Okay.
through MetaMask. And this is all for the people speculating in a situation like this. This is all point and click through MetaMask. And
Mhm.
really, the web admin is up and running for people to speculate. And just the early speculation on very simple oracles that are simply a TLS certificate check, pulling it in and just running a straight bonding curve. We saw the value of a Poloniex API call overnight go from 7 Zap per dot, which is the secondary token, up to 112 Zap per dot in a period of like 9-10 hours, something like that. So the early speculation has been crazy, especially because the provider is able to create their own function for the bonding curve. So I definitely think you're going to have to be careful about which one you're bonding to, because I am sure very soon people are going to create insane exponential curves on these things that don't really have much built behind them, because anyone can get on there and create a bonding curve and begin, marketing it essentially. So you're definitely going to want to do your research
Okay.
about which bonding curves are really doing the right things. And I think that's more where the initial Oracle, or now initial bonding curve offering, is coming into play. As we've seen, early speculation can yield very high returns on some of these bonding curves if you're involved in the right one and the community decides so as well. It's essentially just a brand new speculative market where you don't need exchanges, you don't need liquidity, and people are able to jump in and out of positions instantly using MetaMask. And because of that, we've seen things fly around very quickly. So it's definitely an exciting space that moves around fast.
Yeah, well, we know this space is very well known for volatility junkies,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's going to be really awesome to see, uh, you know, everything. Is again, this is just such new tech. I'm excited. So say, let me ask you a question. Say you and I were engaged in a smart contract. Could we create our own data feed? Say we were both savvy enough and we wanted to create a feed that you and I both agreed upon, as opposed to using a feed from someone else. Is that something that can be done, or are data feeds going to be a little more static than that?
You could definitely do that, but we would both have an economic incentive to lie. So there would be more effort going in to either having some sort of M of N, or 2 out of 3 to be able to access the server. Because if you're providing the data feed, you essentially have control over the actuation of what that contract's doing, which is why you generally want a third party to be applying that data feed for whatever you're doing, because
And
you're
to
actually
clarify,
giving
this is
them.
a decentralized third party, right?
It
They're
could
all,
be, and it probably should be, but it doesn't necessarily have to be. Someone could make a centralized oracle. Like, for instance, it could be a law firm that is doing some sort of notary, or they are verifying that some contract is passed, and it's just one lawyer with a private key, and he's deciding on something that's happened in a legal space to move funds on a smart contract. So it doesn't necessarily have to be decentralized. But in the context of things that we conventionally think about, like crypto price feeds or assets, or whether or not this sports data went through, or whether you definitely want it to be a decentralized multi-party oracle.
yeah. So the oracles themselves are like the people creating the data is an oracle, and they have economic incentive to produce the best quality data. But the decentralizing element essentially would be creating consensus through multiple parties, and that is the aggregation of multiple oracles.
Exactly. And those would be more valuable oracles than the pieces that make them up. So I would expect to see a higher price on the bonding curve for a multi-party oracle than you would for one of these single data feeds.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, so I mean, I know you gave me an hour and we've just stepped over the clock. Is there some more stuff you'd like to explore? Is there, you want to give the community a couple minutes for Q&A?
Yeah, sure. Let's field some questions. Absolutely.
All right. So
This is
to the
cool. Really
viewers out there,
appreciate you, by the way. This has been great. Having a
yeah.
fantastic.
Well, yeah, on behalf of Block TV, I'm very thankful for your time as well. I feel like, I'd love to pop in for it, in another month or two, or to see how things are moving along.
Seriously. Like, just
Um,
as we've gone live, honestly, I would love to do this again in a month because I think we're going to have a lot more for you, especially with the widgets on third parties, doing the kind of things like we talked about with sports and
mhm.
conventional assets and everything else. I would love to do this again. I think we're going to have a lot coming out real soon. It's very exciting.
Yeah, yeah, and I also want to get you up to our studio, or through the studio, you'll get you'll love communicating with our host Yael and the entire Block TV staff. They have an excellent setup, so I think it'll be great to have you explain what you're doing to them as well. It'll generate a different type of viewers. This is more for a Q&A space, and obviously a nice two-way dialogue between me, you, and the community. And it looks like, so I'm going to pop onto my phone because I had a couple questions there from community members. How long, I'm seeing one question, how long do we estimate until the first use case of an Oracle is ready, i.e. maybe a futures contract?
Let's see, what's the date today? That's an excellent question. Today is the 11th. I would expect us to see something stood up this month. That would be my estimate, is that we would have, and I think it's going to look like 3 widgets on a web page. One is this happens, one is this happens, and the top one is the data feed that's feeding that decision. Something very basic so everyone can understand it, and a template to go with it. So then you could build a platform that was using multiples of those. So I would have to say, I would say this month for the simplest version of that.
Oh yeah, and let me ask you a question I had. So say we're betting on the bounty situation, right? So in addition to the like you said that participants, users have an economic incentive to participate as well in voting essentially on whoever's properly like whoever um, deserves the bounty, right? Now, what kind of bet is that? That's like, essentially I look at that as like side bets, right? Now, what kind of payout, if we're talking about that kind of scenario, is someone that's betting on the winner, the person that resolves the bounty. Now, say I bet on the winner, right? And I throw 10 zap on it. Am I looking at 11 zap, or how does that yield work?
Sure. So it would all depend on who else has taken the other side of the bet,
Hmm.
is what's going on there. So it's
So
all
odds
about
are being
stake
created.
value. Exactly. Odds are being created in real time by the market
Hmm.
based on who else has taken the other side of that bet.
Okay. So yeah, that's interesting. And then loser loses all, the winning crew wins and the losing crew loses, basically. There's
Exactly.
okay.
Or you could have business logic where that wasn't the case, since it's just an ERC20 contract that you're generating for these secondary, dots that can interact with the platform. You could change that. If that was more appealing to people, you could switch it up. So, half went here, or even in the case of the bounty situation where we talked about, where you're betting on who the winner of the bounty is,
Hmm.
maybe 10% of those winnings also go to the winner of the bounty or something like that. So you could add different business logic into it, but in its simplest form, the loser loses all staked value and the winners have it split amongst them based on how many of those secondary tokens they're holding.
Okay, and I see a question here. So were IOOs discussed, Energy Ledger?
Yeah, we did go over IOOs, and that is
Hmm.
basically the concept of, if you want, as this is a curation market and it's all based on the vested interest of the community, the IOO comes into context, which is initial Oracle offering, which I think maybe now should be switched to initial bonding curve offering,
Hmm.
where you are essentially, to get people to stake value, as the value staked is a thermometer for how much your bonding curve is trusted. On a market with a lot of offerings, you're going to have to actually describe why your data feed is the best. So we talked about how this might come into different tools where you're going to need a launch website or maybe even a white paper about how you constructed this data feed and why it's so
Ah,
trustworthy and what data feeds you're using to build it, so that you can convince the community to stake value and be the thermometer for your data feed being most
wait,
trusted.
this
While at
is
the
the
same
rabbit hole we're talking about. This goes
Exactly.
deep.
And while at the same time, the speculators are actually able to make money based on having picked the right data feed early and then unbonding and basically redeeming their secondary tokens later on.
Hmm. Awesome. And I mean, it looks like I don't even want to hit near and long-term future. You said you're going live with something this month, and I would say let's touch base again. In like I said, probably like I think a month's time when things are
Yeah.
balls rolling. Anytime you have anything you want to discuss, we're happy to be here. Block TV is here to obviously broadcast the news, right, and the truth. So,
That's awesome.
I mean, I can't think of any questions off the top of my head, mostly because this is such a new space. I'm really curious. I'm super curious about this. So I'm excited. I'm curious. I'm really excited for you guys. I love innovation. This is innovation. And I can't wait to see what you guys do with this. And I mean, I don't know you personally, but you guys are a very competent dev team, and I'm really excited to see the direction you guys move with.
I really appreciate you taking the time, man. Super exciting to talk about. And honestly, if you want to play with the platform, it's just admin.zap.org is the web portal to interact with the contracts through MetaMask. And you can just hop in Telegram and ask me any questions you have if you're not able to just sort of click through and figure it out. But the whole bonding curve speculative market is live and ready to go, and people are making early bets on different data feeds already. And we're going to be standing up those secondary business logic functions that make decisions based on these oracles there as well here shortly. So,
Awesome.
Yeah, and just to add, the tutorials and documentations are constantly being extended over at zap.tech. There'll be a few mirror sites popping up.
Now, everyone, make sure, why don't we throw out some information here? I believe it's on Twitter at Oracles Zap.
Zap Oracles at Zap Oracles.
At Zap Oracles. So please follow them, at Zap Oracles. And just so you guys know, the crowd, I'm going to stick around for an extra few minutes. We're going to hang out. We could talk anything, obviously blockchain. And I'm obviously not the pro with Oracle talk, but, I'll be here to answer other questions. So with that being said, follow at Zap Oracles. And do you guys have any other contact info that you want the community to be aware of? Is there anything that you want us to be following other than Twitter?
If you guys jump into our Telegram, you can ask any questions you want there. It's on the website on the zap.org. I believe the Telegram's listed on there, and happy to answer any questions that pop up there.
So zap.org, ladies and gentlemen, join the Telegram chat and ask and you shall receive. So I'm going to thank you very much for your time, and I'll be in touch. We'll try to figure out something in the future.
Hey, sincerely, thank you. This has been great. Good talking to you.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you both so much for your time.
See ya.
Take care. Bye. So if there's any viewers left, I'm looking at the questions over here. Is there anything, speculative, blockchain? I mean, obviously everyone knows who I am. Well, let me introduce myself to those who don't know. I think everyone probably does. I'm Joe Saz, a Bitcoin maximalist. I'm a reporter for BLOCKTV and technical analyst. And so obviously I do have I do have a foot in a camp, in the Bitcoin camp, but I'm also very neutral as a host. So I'll explore any concept with you guys, and to the best of my knowledge, and we'll bring in professionals when obviously it's beyond my knowledge. So yeah, I mean this was really interesting stuff though. Smart contracts are, I've thought that smart contracts, any sort of resolution in the smart contract space was much further away than it is. Obviously, it's amongst us. I didn't think that there was going to be a solution to the third party trusted entity for a very long time. So I'm happy to see that there's an innovation that is leagues ahead of our leagues ahead of a generous adoption of this kind of tech. So this is really cool. Yeah. I mean, everyone who is listening, say something if you're confused, because I digested quite a bit of it, and I want to make sure that we can all walk away with something. So if you have questions about this stuff, bring it up, and message me on Twitter, email me joe@blocktv.com, or put it in the chat here, because we're going to revisit this about a month from now. So yeah, I am crazy for innovation. I do love to learn. I think we're all here. Like whether we're with XRP, Bitcoin, Tron, whatever camp we're in, or multi-coining. The truth is, we need to look at the facts, right? We have a lot to learn. So it's ignorant to think that we have it all figured out. Yeah, well, of course, and well, it seems like there aren't really any questions right now. So what I'm probably going to do is maybe time a little, see what's going on crypto Twitter, see if we need to set up any live interviews on the spot. Be aware that BlockFi, the interview on BlockFi, who are promising 6% returns on crypto investments, has been moved to Wednesday. Wednesday, 6 p.m. Eastern. Now, TechEX, I hope I said that right. Joe, do you think projects like Zap, that have real innovation is the next big thing in crypto? I think any real innovation in crypto is of value. Anything that is not a delusional innovation. Look at what's happening with Zap right now, right? They have tech that they are live with, right? And they've created the ability for complete amateurs to enter this space. I think there's a number of reasons why this would be considered, I think, a green innovation in my mind, right? Whereas there are other innovations that arguably are delusional. I'm still lost when I hear companies saying, "Oh, we're going to track tuna on the blockchain." Well, what is that accomplishing, right? Like, a username and a password accomplishes tracking tuna on a blockchain, right? And what's to say that at any point in the process of moving tuna from Japan to the United States, there isn't some sort of switch, or there isn't some sort of malicious actor along at any point of this. So blockchain in shipping labels and stuff like that. There's certain things that just I can't. I'll happily listen to a professional that wants to discuss things and convince me that this is a brilliant innovation. But things like Zap, now that's most certainly a brilliant innovation. The smart contract, the Oracle the Oracle problem, that's a really curious space, right? It's a black hole, and Zap is coming forward saying we're going to shine some light in this very obscure space. Here's how, and obviously they presented their information in a very educational fashion, and there were a couple hiccups in the feed here, and I would like to make sure that next time maybe we can even create a smart contract, some parameters, and just play around. Maybe we can do that next time. I don't know. Obviously, tech, you always, when you need it to work the most, it never does. So there's that. Would I consider such an innovative project that targets the massive Oracle use case and only has a 1.5 million market cap a solid investment opportunity? Now, I'm probably never going to give investment advice, and everyone knows I'm a Bitcoin maximalist. I think Zap is offering innovation to the space. In this crypto space, it's hard to invest, right? If you were buying Apple stock and you're convinced that Apple is going to do a good job, they're going to put forth better products, then you own a stake in the company, right? And that's a little different to say as an investment than buying ticker symbol ZAP. We obviously don't know. This is hugely speculative, and although this tech is promising, it's still very new and very exciting as well. So I love to research and I love to have discussions. And but when it comes to the crypto space, I love Bitcoin. I am a Bitcoin maximalist. So I'm not trashing anything else. I'm just saying that's my position. I'm in it for the sound money more than I'm in it for a cryptocurrency portfolio, so to say. But yeah, I do think that Zap is offering something insanely awesome. So keep your eyes out. Pay attention to this, and I'll be sure to publicize the interview with them. I'll definitely be publicizing our next interview. They were great to work with, and I think in a month's time, who knows? Like, these guys created something amazing. Let's see what happens in a month. You know, let's have that conversation. I can't wait. You know, I can't wait to have my next conversation with Matt. You know, that was such a brilliant individual and an amazing conversation. So, you know, I'm gonna be in this space. I'm here for you guys. I'm gonna be looking for all the answers with you. You know, for you, for myself as well, because I'm super curious. So, you guys always message me questions, however it's best for you. Email, Twitter, whatever. Email, like, send me your questions, and if there's something that I can't figure out, or something that I can't answer, I'm going to bring in an expert. So just give me time. Um, yeah. So on that note, I'm probably gonna call it for a couple hours. We're definitely going to work on creating a nice little hangout space here, and I'm happy to see some familiar faces. SD, let's see here. Let me move up. Let me see. Crypto Dog. Let's see. Techie, good to see you. All right. Yeah, I'm gonna start remembering your guys' names. So, oh, Stuart, good to see you here. Um, yep, a lot of good people, man. A lot of familiar faces. So I'm looking forward to building a relationship with you guys. And I'll want to grow together. Let's do this together. Ask me questions so that I can, you know, reach out and try to bring people on board so that we can have these amazing discussions. I'm happy to do that. And so is Block TV. Yeah, yeah, maybe. That's an interesting point. I don't like to, again, I like to be neutral. So I turned off my maximalist switch. Uh, and yeah, I can ask about, you know, staking Bitcoin on a smart contract, and how is that all going to work out? Um, you know, because maybe there is some sort of universe where we can have, instead of, I mean, and I don't want to step on any toes here. I just want to leave the conversation where it is now. We can discuss more, you know, I think we had a good conversation, and I don't want to, you know, break anything on my way out. Is the best way to put this. So yeah, I think the personally, I use Bitcoin as my currency, and yeah, I mean, I would love to be staking my Bitcoin on a smart contract if I had reason to believe I was going to win, right? We say there was a smart contract and I was betting on a sports game, and I knew for a fact something was going to happen. I mean, I'm a technical analyst, right? I trade. I don't want to enter a trade that I have any reason to believe I'm going to lose. And that the truth behind trading is it's a very risky space, and you have to be very, very careful with what you do. You have to strip your emotions. You have to have been trading for a while. You need some trusted indicators. You need a relationship with the asset. So when you're going into a trade, there's so many factors at play, right? The last thing you want to do is lose. And in this space with such a low market cap, there are whales pushing the price up and down. They're almost, it's almost like they're after you. You know, when you're trading, I approach trading like it's a fixed race, and that pays out for me. I look at how I would, if I controlled a horse and all I wanted was money, I would make the horse win a couple races and then lose the fourth, right? I would bet against it on the fourth race and make it lose. Now imagine the same thing for futures and crypto. Imagine the same thing for the stock market. Any place where there's money and there are people with enough money to influence the price, you're going to see inorganic market activity. So always be aware of that. Be careful what you stake your currency to, whether it's fiat, Bitcoin, XRP, whatever. So as always, you know, I'll be here to learn with you guys, and I'm going to call it. So thank you so much for the support, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here. I look forward to, you know, becoming more familiar with a number of you who I've seen so far. And thanks again for the support. And as always, follow me on Twitter, follow Block TV, and we'll be pushing out the best content we possibly can for you all. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Take care.